right, class. Welcome back to English 1301. Let's talk about where we are and what's happening for the upcoming days. Class, one of the things I want to talk about is I've been grading your profile, your memoir essays 7 days a week since they were first turned in. There's staggered grading and due dates for them, but I've been grading those 7 days a week. I've read some good memoirs, grades from A minus, B plus, B, B minus, C plus, C, C minus, D, D plus, D minus, and failing memoirs. Once again, as you have seen, I've been very hands-on. If I need for you to make some adjustments, just bear with me, follow my directions. And always my goal is to have all the essays back within 2 weeks from the time that they've been turned in. I always pretty much make that deadline. So know that I'm grading those now 7 days a week, class. Very good. I've read some good memoirs too, one day at a time. Class, let's talk about the deadline for your next essay. Now, for my hybrid class, when we go to our course policies and calendar class, for my hybrid class, and once again, look at your section numbers, 21416, 21419, and 21437, you will have a deadline for turning in the profile essay, and I'm here to help you with that, class, once again on the 9th. Okay? No, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, class. I made a mistake. Well, it is the 9th. Yeah. The 9th of March. So, class, once again, excuse me, in that portfolio that you turn in on the 9th of March, for those 3 classes, and for my online class, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, first draft, final draft, writing center verification, just exactly like you did for the memoir, you'll do for the profile. Once again, this essay needs to be 700 to 1,000 words. The exact same formatting, the MLA formatting that, once again, I've given you. Class, go back and study that. There's some folks that are having challenges with that. Once you get it, you'll have it for the rest of your life. I gave you that correct essay format handout. A lot of people have it nailed already, some don't. Once again, go back and look at that, class. That's what your essay is going to be turned in like. That's what it's going to look like, class, etc., etc. Here it is. Here it is. Correct essay format. Your name, English 1301, section number, spring 2022, my last name at the bottom. Double space, center your title, underline your title, start indent. Dent your paragraphs. Double spacing, no extra space in between the paragraphs. If you need help with this, ask someone who's got this stuff down to help you. Go to the computer center to help you. Let them see this. Just pull that up. That's exactly the way your essay needs to look. And a lot of people have it down already. Some people need to keep working on that. And that's all right, class. That's what we're here for, right? That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. Class, once again, not to hurt. So that deadline for those 3 classes, the 9th. First draft, final draft, writing center verification. 700 to 1,000 word essay. I'll grade it just like that. Just like I'm doing now with your memoirs class for my one section 20755, which is on a completely different, or not completely different, but it's different because it's an online class. Remember that yours is going to be turned in, class, on the 10th. Okay? your profile is going to be turned on the 10th of March. And then after that, right after that class, will be breaking for spring break. And that'll give me time over spring break. I'm going to have some fun like you do too, but I'll be doing the same thing pretty much 7 days a week, no matter where I am. I'll be grading these portfolios, the next batch, right, for us to stay on track this semester. So there we are, the 9th and the 10th, the due lines. Make those deadlines, class. Make those deadlines. Once again, when you send in work, send it through Blackboard Messages, okay? You don't have to worry about attaching them all together. Just send them as separate documents, Blackboard Messages, the final draft, a Microsoft Word document. You could let me know first draft, final draft, writing center verification, 3 different items. Send them through Blackboard Messages, and then I'll hit it. Class, I hit it. I'll give you all my attention. I'll help you out, just like I'm working with those memoirs. I've read some good memoirs. A- memoirs to F memoirs, class. Where you are, that's where you are. Right? As you can see, when I send those back to you, I've justified your grade. Once again, justified your grade. Plenty of comments on the pages, class. Most important essay you may ever receive back in college. Class, once I am done with these and my next lecture is going to be, as I work on getting all these back, when I get everyone's back, and I'm in the process of doing that now, 2 weeks from time they're coming, I'll post another lecture, an hour-long lecture that talks about my grading techniques. It talks about some of the codes that I put on your papers, like word choice errors, run-on errors, incomplete sentence errors. I will go over all of that in a lecture, all right, that I'll post to Blackboard. I'll talk about some of the common errors that I saw in these essays. Class, I read some good work too. I'm still doing it, right? All right. So I will talk about those things, right? My codes. That'll be the next lecture after this one. So, there we are. You know your due date. You know what you need to do. You've been given, once again, homework that already you've been thinking about, class. This is our first major handout. What's this? This will help you start thinking about profiles, creating a dominant impression. This is the first handout I gave you. It's a 9-page handout. So you start thinking to yourself, I'm going to have to write an essay for Mr. Welsh. I'm going to have to write an essay for Mr. Welsh, a profile. I'm here to help you with that now. In this profile, there's a fantastic example of a profile essay. Study it. A Surgeon's War on Breast Cancer, written by Molly O'Neill, a New York Times staff writer. And she did what you're going to do for me. Hers is more in depth. She went once again out to Los Angeles. She interviewed a doctor, which you're going to have to do. You'll only have to do for an hour. She came back after getting all these impressions, all of these information, and she wrote the essay, A Surgeon's War on Breast Cancer, for the New York Times. This is a profile, okay? This is a profile. And class, so what are we doing here? Okay, so what we're doing in this assignment is like assignment that'll can help you for the rest of your life. Not only for just an English class, but skills that we work on our entire life, such as in this assignment, you become like well, first of all, where do we see profiles? We see them everywhere. We see them on TV. We see them in magazines. We see them in newspapers. We see them in online journals. We see them on the internet. We see them everywhere, class. Why? Because people are interested in other people's lives. I know I am. still. So in this exercise, you're going to become like a journalist, like an investigative reporter, a scientist, a detective. Skills that you can use your whole life in whatever you get into. And what skills are we talking about? We're talking about skills like observing, skills like interviewing, skills like, once again, note-taking class. These are all things that you're going to do in this assignment. So we observe, which we will do, and we need to do in life anyway. Observe people, pay attention to people, interview people, class, asking them questions one-on-one, and then once again, note-taking. So, in its essence, when the time comes, you will sit down with someone and you will once again have about 10 questions ahead of time, and you're going to interview them for this assignment. It can't be a family member. It can't be a boyfriend and girlfriend, but anything outside of your comfort zone. We're going to talk about that in a couple minutes. Has to be someone alive, and you do the interview. How long will the interview last, class? 1 hour. You should be able to get the notes down that you need. You're going to take about 10 questions in with you. Sit down with someone. You could do it over Zoom. You could do it, once again, face-to-face. We're going to talk about that. You could do it in a coffee shop, like we saw an essay where a student did it, class. And you're going to ask them questions. You're going to take notes. 1 hour. 1 hour, once again, of field work. 1 hour. And then notes. To get the quotes, once again, of what the person is saying, class. Of getting it down, once again, notes. We're not there yet, though. But that's what you're going to do inherently. 1 hour you'll spend with a person. You'll ask them questions to get them talking. You'll write down the answers in your notebook. When you come back, you have this massive amount of notes, and you figure out how I'm going to focus this. How I'm going to write this essay. And a good example of that sort of essay is in here that you've already seen. A Surgeon's War on Breast Cancer with Molly O'Neill. So, Molly O'Neill for the New York Times went out and interviewed Dr. Susan M. Love at UCLA. She spent time with her. She interviewed her. She took notes. And then she wrote this essay. So we observe, which you're going to do for me. We interview for 1 hour. We ask the questions. And then during that time, class, no matter what, this a little, once again, it doesn't make any difference what sort of thing you do it with. This little tiny small notebook I was just using today when I was out in the desert hiking. I took a hike today. Beautiful day today, Sunday, right? Along the Rio Grande River, and I thought, man, something may come to me today out on the La Linea, out on the Rio Grande River, Rio Bravo. I was on the Rio Bravo today, tripping, looking at the border wall, man. And so once again, he went out there, took a little notebook like this, and a different sort of pen. What sort of pen did I don't know which one I had. I had a couple pens with me. And so while I'm hiking, all of a sudden, notes, because something came to me, right? A line came to me, class, and I get it. So it doesn't have to be a fancy notebook. When you go just a spiral notebook, paper and pen, write out 10 questions ahead of time, sit down for 1 hour, and you interview your person, okay? And once again, does it have to be, it's doable. This is a challenging assignment, but it's doable because my students have done them over the years and written some good ones. But it's a different sort of writing. It's the profile. But you've already read about that because you've done the homework and you know what's up. observing. How do we pay attention and observe to what's going around us? The memoir that you wrote for me, I've read some good memoirs that I'm grading now, was all about a person going inside themselves, looking at their own lives. The profile is we get out of ourselves and we put the focus on the outside world, right? The outside world is fascinating. Fascinating. And I'll give you examples about what you can do for me, but already be thinking about it. I'm sure from the time you started doing your homework, you were thinking about what can I do? What can I do for a profile? I'm going to help you with that now. Because time's it's not running out. But you got to set up things. We got to take care of this one step at a time so the 9th, when you turn this in, you'll have it done, right? We observe. Pay attention. We interview. We ask questions to the person to get them talking. And then once again, class note-taking. Notes. And once again, class, surrender to the fact that you're in college once again. The only way you're going to get through college is take notes. Even sometimes I'm still the same where I was when I first started college. Am I getting the right notes down? Am I getting the essence of what this professor is trying to teach me, right? The other day I was in a class, a bunch of people looking at me. I'm talking about deadlines in the hybrid class. I'm talking about what they need to be doing. They're looking at me like they're in a trance. I'm like, come on. Get out your notes. Get out pen and paper. Once again, I know it's been a tough time, class. I know it's a tough time. The COVID, the pandemic. But life goes on. We got assignments to do, right? Be in it to win it if you want to be here. If you don't want to be here, that's all right, class. You don't have to do the work. I had a student come up to me the other day, Mr. Welsh, I haven't done anything. In fact, I just showed up to class today. I haven't done anything. How am I doing in your class? I said, you know how you're doing in my class. You're failing it and you're going to fail the class. But I wasn't mean to him. It's good to yourself. You don't want to be in English 1301 right now. If you did, you'd be doing the work. You're not doing the work. Don't lie to yourself. You'll be all right. I'm here to help. Now's not the time for English 1301. You haven't done the work. We're a third of the way into the semester. This is intense. He'll be all right. Class, it happens. You know, young men, young women, be good to yourself. You'll be all right. You're young. Ask yourself, are you ready? Do you want to work? Do you want to work? Do you want to do the work that college entails? And he told me he was, and I had a young woman tell me, I'm passing all my classes. Mr. Welsh, I'm doing great, but not in yours because I haven't done any work. I said, all right, drop mine and focus on those other 3 classes. Because right now you're setting yourself up for failure. Set yourself up for success. Be all right. Too late now. All right? I mean, getting off to a real bad start or a third into it, it's all right. Class, observing, interview, note-taking. In this assignment, you learn to analyze and synthesize the information that you have collected. You learn to analyze and synthesize the information you've collected. And the challenge is to present a person, place, or activity vividly to your readers. I'm one of your readers. The challenge of creating a profile is to present a person, place, or activity vividly to readers. And the scope may be large or small, depending. Which brings up, once again, class of surgeons, war on breast cancer. So this essay, this profile from our handout on 222, Molly O'Neill, there's aspects of this that are very large because it's dealing with breast cancer. And we know that 1 in every 8 women's going to get it. And then there's aspects of this profile that's hyper-focused, dealing with Dr. Susan M. Love and her personal life and what she looks like and what her clothes are like and what she's wearing and how she's helping women one-on-one who have breast cancer. Class. Beautiful. So, it's a good piece of writing, class. Look over it. Look over those questions. If you answered the questions at the end, excellent. All right? And be thinking, I'm going to have to write a profile. This is longer, much longer than what you'll have to do, but once again, it's a very good profile. One of the questions was, what dominant impression does the profile seem to create? And it's a profile of a caring doctor. Class, it's the profile of a woman who has struggled to become Dr. Susan M. Love. She's struggled, but everything in life takes struggle. She has struggled to become this famous breast cancer doctor in Los Angeles at UCLA. Said medical school was tough back in the day. Weren't a lot of women there. A lot of women lost their minds because of the pressure, discrimination against women, yet she persevered. It's a profile of kindness, class. And then if someone's struggling personally, it tells us that she's a lesbian. She had to deal with her sexuality, so that took struggle. It tells her that she was an Irish-American Catholic woman who was a nun at one time. Class, she's finding her way, okay? So they give us this profile of someone who is caring. And the writer, Molly O'Neill, establishes that for the reader by her words and the way she crafts it and the way she focuses on it. So, class, very good. So what I want you to do right now, if you're not there yet, but within the next day, list several unusual people or places on campus or in your community that you could profile. This is what I want you to do for me. And then it's going to be time to hit it. List several unusual people or places on campus or in your neighborhood that you could profile. So be thinking, who could I profile, class? And then ask yourself, what would be most interesting to you? Why would this be interesting to you, and what seems special about her, him, or it? Why would this be interesting to you, and what seems special about her, him, or it? So be thinking, who can I profile? I'm going to give you some examples here of what you can do, right? Challenging essay to write, yes. Is it doable? Yes, because this class is doable. Does it take effort? Yes. Does it take work? Yes. Am I going to kill you with it? No. But you got to do the footwork. All right? So, very, very good. So that's one of the things that you have to do. Let me look at this other stuff here. So that's an example of a profile. What would make a good one? Okay. Class, when you go to meet your person, and once again, we'll talk about some examples of good profiles. 10 questions you write out ahead of time to get them to talk. And then you interview them for an hour. Like, say, for example, you were going to go back and see an old teacher. For maybe you want to interview a teacher that was particularly important to you in high school. Go back and interview them. I like profiles of good teachers. You could ask a teacher, get them talking, tell me about the most frustrating aspect of this job. Tell me about the biggest, the thing that you like best about this job. Tell me about your most difficult day. And then you get things like, how old are you? Where did you graduate from college? Where did you grow up? How many people in your family? A little bit about their background. All these things that can be used in a profile And then ask them those questions to get them talking. And while they're talking, you're writing the answers down, right? Only take an hour to do it, but you got to do it. And so you want to set that up. Now, next I want to talk about, I also gave you this handout, Betsy Buffo interview with an artist. This is from a English 1301 student. It's not perfect, but it's good. Study this on the way she, once again, writes this profile. Betsy Buffo has to write a profile for English 1301. This is not a perfect essay, but it's very good. And what does she do? She goes to the Ybor Cafe, the Ovo Cafe in Ybor City in Florida, and she sits down and she interviews for a half an hour Derek Washington, who is this young man who is struggling as an artist. She interviews him. She takes notes. She asks him questions, spends about an hour with him, and then she comes back and she writes this interview with an artist. All right? Just exactly as you're going to do for me. And this is, once again, class, a nice piece. Not perfect. There's a couple things I'd like to see more in here. But once again, it's a good essay. And in the questions for your homework, it asks us, questions like, what is the main point of this essay? And I think the main point of this essay, class, was to give us a portrait of a young man who's struggling, right? Dr. Susan M. Love, in the last essay, in the physician, she had to struggle to become who she was and who she is. She's still alive. Paramount, este primero breast cancer surgeon, treatment person in America, right? And here we have a young man who wants to become an artist. So I think the main point is just to show the reader that, here's a man who's trying to do his things, figuring out who he is, what he wants to be. Got a long way to go, but don't we all have a long way to go on who we are and what we want to be? What is the writer's attitude toward the artist? How do you know? Class, we know that she's interested in him, and she's also a little bit taken back. She almost seems a little scared because Derek Washington's intense, right? Strangling his coffee cup when he's drinking coffee. He's high wire. Class, he's all wired up. But we get the sense overall that she's kind of enamored with him. Because, man, he's trying to do his thing. He's not only trying to do his thing, he's doing his thing. He's got an art show coming up. He's hustling. He's found objects, He's getting paint, trying to scrounge for canvases. He's doing his thing, class, right? Becoming himself, just like you always ask yourself, what are you going to become? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with this precious thing called life? Community college, where we are, is an incredible place if you see it that way. El Paso Community College, greatest college in the world, if you see it that way. My community college back in Los Angeles in the South Bay that I went to, called a junior college, El Camino, greatest educational experience I ever had. But that's the way it was for me. There are other students, once again, didn't go to class, partying on the beach, not wanting to take it seriously. That's all right. I never judge that. But it's an incredible place if you can feel that and see that, right? So El Paso Community College is as good as Harvard or Yale or Princeton or UT Austin or, once again, Cornell or Berkeley or UCLA or Texas Tech. But you got to feel it. you got a feeling, you got to know it. I know it because I teach there, right? Some good teachers that help students, right? And then you leave us, the students go on. They go on to those schools I just mentioned from the community college because we help. If a student wants it, the help is there. How hard's the student going to have to work? Like me, I had to work hard, right? The student's got to want it. So there's got to be some fire that goes off. Hey, I want this. This is going to help me. Class, it's not for everyone, but it's here. What is the writer's attitude toward the artist she's interested in him? Derek Washington tense. He's a young black man, African American man, becoming an artist, right? No matter what color he is. Said he's angry. He's angry because he's black, and so that's one of the things I'd like to know a little more in the essay, okay? He's angry because he's black. Man, I know a lot of angry people in my life that I grew up with that were black, but I knew a hell of a lot of angry white people too. You say, hey man, that dude's angry because he's white. Well, what happened to him? What happened to him for being white, if that's the case? Or what happened to him in the neighborhood? Or what happened to the black man? Or what happened to the black woman? What happened to the white woman? What happened to the Chicano or Chicana? I don't know. Once again, somebody tells me they're angry, I want to know why. Because I know about anger, right? I know about discrimination and reverse discrimination. All those things from growing up and spending my life in Los Angeles, right? Interesting, fascinating, right? And what do I want for Derek Washington that's profiled in here? The best. Young man, what do I want for my students? The best. What do I want them to do? Succeed. What do I want them to do? What do I want them to become? Whatever they want to become. Not what I want to become. I know I'm still trying to become what I wanted to become. That started years ago, decades ago at the community college when I said, hey, I'm going to want to become a writer, right? What have I done? I've become one, right? Am I where I thought I'd be? No. Am I happy to be where I am? Yes. Do I write? Yes. Do I publish? Yes. Have I published a lot? Yes. Am I where I want to be? Maybe not. But I'm still staying with it. Like Derek Washington is painting, right? Painters paint. Writers write. Rappers rap. Musicians write songs. Guitarists play guitar, right? Basketball players shoot hoops. Fighters fight. Fighters fight. They get in the gym. They train. They better get ready to get knocked out. If you're going to box, you get up again. A tough game, man. I'm not saying I'm advocating that, but I grew up around it, fighting, boxing. Dad used to take me to the fights in LA as a kid, the Olympic Auditorium. I'd watch the great Mexican-American fighters, a lot of Irish-American fighters. I watched them fight in the ring as a kid, right? You'd be thinking, wow, man, Then he taught me to box. He knew how to box. Then I get knocked out, get back up, get knocked out, get back up, get knocked out, get back up, get knocked out, get back up. Just like life, class, right? You're going to get up. Boxers box. Boxers train. Writers write. Rappers rap. Accountants do accounting. Math majors do math. Lawyers argue cases. Sociologists may work as sociological workers. Class, it's all good. Derek Washington is painting, right? And the thing nowadays is, what's fantastic about this, we can put his name in a Google search and see what happened to him, right? I might do it right now after I get off with this lecture with you. What happened with Derek Washington? Become an artist? Is he still doing it? Either way, the thing about nowadays is, somebody tells me something. Well, I've done this, this, and this. I said, that's cool. I'm not judging anyone. Let me go throw you in a Google search and see what comes up. Right? See if what you're telling me is on the up and up. Class, it's interesting nowadays. I was one time a few years ago I'll tell you this story. I was up in Taos, New Mexico, and I met this dude on the street, and we started talking, and we ended up in this coffee shop, and he started telling me that he was in all these Hollywood movies, that he acted for years. He was a director, and now he's up in Taos. He's about 10 years older than me. So I said, that's cool. Give me your name. Let me write down some of these movies. Because he was making me feel less than. Like he was this big deal and done all this stuff and all this acting and producing and writing. And a day later, when my wife and I were out in Taos, some woman came up to us at a coffee shop and said, we saw you talking to that dude. And I said, yeah. And she said, that dude's crazy. He's a psychopath. I said, what a trip. Are you sure? And then I pulled out his name and everything. Said he's crazy. Because he was so literate and talked about how much he had done and all these pictures and stuff. And lo and behold, I got back to I had a cell phone, but I couldn't access Google that well. Got back to my hotel, put his name in the laptop on a bunch of combinations. Nothing. He didn't even exist, class. And then that lady told me he was insane, mentally insane on the streets. Tripping, class. Derek Washington. Okay, if you were Buffalo's peer editor, what suggestions would you give her to strengthen this essay? It's not perfect. I tell her I'd like a little more background information about him. Sometimes some students have said maybe we'd like a little more visual pictures of his work. I'd like to know a little bit more about where he comes from. If he's so pissed off, why he's so pissed off, right? I know how to be pissed off too. What got you pissed off? Why are you pissed off? But overall, it's an excellent essay, class. Interview with an artist, Betsy Buffo. She did what you're going to do. Went out and interviewed him for an hour. You're going to interview someone for an hour. You're going to take notes. Can't be someone dead. One time a student told me, Mr. Welsh, I didn't interview a Kurt Cobain. I said, no, you didn't. He's dead. And it was a student back in the day before the pandemic. He used to always skateboard into my class. I said, it's cool. I like skateboarding. I'm an old school skateboarder, and I know about skateboarding. After this essay where I told him he plagiarized, he skateboarded out of my class and never came back. That's fine with me. I did my part. But once again, he didn't interview Kurt Cobain for my profile essay. Kurt Cobain was already dead. But he told me he did. He hadn't even done a memoir either. Or a failing one. I can't remember. Not judging him. I remember I saw him in the hall. He did a 360 on a skateboard. I used to know how to do 360s. And then boom, skated down the hall and out of my class. I never saw him again. I was like, that's cool. That's cool. I did my part. He just wasn't ready for English 1301. That's all right. He may be now, maybe not. Class. Let's talk about what you can do for me. So, be thinking about who you could interview, who you could profile, class. Okay? I'm going to give you some suggestions. So, I already told you about some things. Class, I got a list here that always helps my students. Think of this. How about anyone with an interesting job? With an interesting job, class, like a beekeeper. Upper Valley, Lower Valley, in El Paso, I'll see stuff that says fresh honey for sale. In order for there to be honey, you have to have bees. You sit down for an hour at a place of employment with a beekeeper and ask them, class, how'd you get in this line of work? A lot of times it's generational farm stuff. Did you see yourself being a beekeeper as a kid? A question. Do you ever dream of bees at night? Question. How many times have you been stung before? Question. What's the difference between beekeeping now and 5 years ago? Question. Do you see yourself doing this job in 10 years? Question. That's a profile you could do. You could interview a beekeeper class. How about a classic car restorer? You know, El Paso is a great place for cars, a great place for car culture because of the weather. You know, people buy cars here, come from out of town because if you got an old car in Detroit, chances are it's going to be rusty. Ohio, rusty. Illinois, rusty. New York, rusty. Those are cold places. El Paso, we've got nice weather for cars. So people come out here and buy cars and restore cars here. Same with California. Classic car restorer. Sit down and talk to them, class. Someone who, one of my favorite essays 10 years ago, a young woman told me, I'm busy, Mr. Welsh. I'm busy. I got 4 kids at home. I'm a single mom. She'd already written me a great memoir. I said, we're all busy. I understand. I'm a father. I got a wife. So we kind of do the parenting thing together for our 2 kids, but I understand. Said, Mr. Welsh, I want to interview my next door neighbor. I said, cool. Tell me about your next door neighbor. She said, Mr. Welsh, he's a lowrider. Should I interview him? I said, yes, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. I'm already interested. It's not about me, but I'm interested. Why? Many reasons. One is I grew up with lowriders all over the streets. If you saw that halftime show for the Super Bowl with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Eminem and 50 Cent and Kendrick Lamar, and they had those 362, 63, 64 Impala lowriders out there, that's my neighborhood. Okay, I grew up from where SoFi was in Inglewood, just 5 miles away in South Central. So I'm not saying I had one, but I've been around that culture my whole life, and I dig it. Interview him. She wrote me a beautiful profile of a lowrider. I still remember today, it was a 63 Impala he had. He had it chopped, he had it lowered, he had it louvered. He had 18 coats of cherry red metal flake paint on the Impala. And he told my student that he loved the lowrider just a little bit more than his wife. It's funny. Excuse me, Klaus. That part was funny, but it's a beautiful profile of a lowrider. Este en español, este cultura, right? Dig it. Is it for everyone? No. But I found it a fascinating. Am I interested in that world? Always have been, still are. Still go to the lowrider shows in El Paso. I haven't been to one since the pandemic, but I'll go, right? Do I have a lowrider? No. I'm not much of a mechanic. Have I ridden in them back home in the day? Yes. All right. We don't need to go into that. Class, you could do a profile interview, a detective. You could interview a police officer. You could interview a border patrol agent, ask a border patrol agent, what's the tough days, the toughest day you've had on the linea, on the line as an agent. Kind of a tough job. What's the best aspect of your work? What's the worst aspect of the work? What's the worst thing that's ever happened? I'd ask Border Patrol agent too, in all your interactions on the border, how much English do you speak? How much Spanish do you speak? Right? Class, you could do a nun, a priest, an auctioneer. Sit down with a priest, Catholic nun. Sit down with a minister from your church, wherever that is. Interview them. Ask them about their love for God. Ask them about their spiritual condition. Ask them about, have they ever met Jesus? Class. I don't make any calls on the world of the spirit. I'll read about it. You tell me Jesus came to you in a vision. You tell me you found the Holy Spirit. You found that you told me something happened to you in a Buddhist meditation. You told me you had a spiritual experience out in the desert. You feel that you have a personal relationship with the Virgin Mother of all sorrows. You tell me that you know Allah. You tell me that you've been hanging with one of the Hindu gods. You tell me that you know about Celtic shamanism. You tell me you know about the Native American Red Rhoda spirituality. I'll listen to it. I'll listen to it. I don't make judgment. I'm saying bring it on. The world of the spirit, it's a mystery, right? It's a mystery. I listen because I'll say I've glimpsed those worlds and I believe, class. But that's all right. You don't have to. You could do a minister. You could do a Catholic nun. You could do a Catholic priest. You could interview a bishop. You could interview a panhandler. Someone's on the streets hustling. Don't put yourself in danger. You could do a mariachi musician. Fascinating, right? I still see mariachis because they were all over where I grew up, you know. But then in El Paso, it's even more intense. El Mariachi. El Mariachi. Class. La Reina and El Rey. The kings and the queens, I see them as. La Reina and El Rey. Trip me out. Sometimes I cry when I hear the mariachis. It's happened. Several times in El Paso over the decades I've been here. If they're good. They hit me in the heart and I'm like, wow, man, what am I crying for? I don't even know what they're singing about. I'm just joking, class. I can figure it out a lot of times. Interview a mariachi, ask them what's the wildest thing that ever happened at a gig. Class, how about a teacher? Teacher at the community college, teacher at your old school. Go interview a teacher. Tell me about them. How about and class, if you're going to think about becoming a teacher, my hats are off to you. El Paso needs good teachers. I've had students of mine become teachers, get their bachelor's degree and go teaching. Some stay in town, some move away. We need good teachers. It's an honorable profession. It can be a bit tough, but you know, I believe in it. Burger joints. Somebody works at Whataburger. Someone who works at, once again, McDonald's. Talk to them. A florist, someone who deals with flowers, class. Boat restorer. Anyone prominent at a school. Could be a principal. Could be a security officer. Could be a vice principal, class. Interesting people. How about a judge? How about a newspaper reporter? Love it, class. Still love the world of journalism to this day. I still see myself as one, even though I don't work in that world like I used to. I love the world of journalism, no matter what happens to it. Pure newspaper reporter, old school journalism. It's what you're going to be like doing for me. Love it. How about a bishop? How about a stripper? How about a male exotic dancer? How about a bartender? How about a bouncer? How about a disc jockey? You can do it for me, class. You can do it. You could do a interview of a place, but even if you do interview a place, you have to have a person to focus on and interview for an hour that makes that place come alive. Such as, class, such as, how about an orphanage? I've read profiles of orphanages. How about a tanning salon? Not like there's not enough sun in El Paso. Class, how about a gym? Go to someone you know that's addicted to working out. Talk to them. Ask them about what working out does for them. Ask them what's the best part of the gym, the worst part of the gym. Ask them if they're doing steroids. Hope not. Pawn shop. Roller skating rink. Talk to the manager. Go to a car wash. Talk to someone who works in the car wash. How about an auto parts store? Go down to O'Reilly Auto Parts and talk to O'Reilly. Go down to Pep Boys and talk to one of the Pep Boys. Radiator Shop, a mechanic. I've read some good profiles of mechanics. I love mechanics, man, and they mean so much to me because I've never been much work for working on a car. My brother could. My brother, back when we were teenagers, man, he dropped a 289 Mustang engine into a 62 Ford Falcon. He could do brakes. He could do everything, man. Did suspension with his buddies. I'd watch him doing it while I was inside the house learning how to play the harmonica and music. Love mechanics. Used bookstore. Go to a used bookstore in town. Interview them. The owner, go to the most expensive restaurant in town. Talk to a waiter. Interview a waiter. How about a used car lot over on Alameda class or wherever? Talk to a used car salesman or a manager. Convent. Go to a convent. There's only nuns. Interview a nun. A bakery. Baker, man. Talk to a baker. There's a lot of good bakeries in town, right? Bowie Bakery. Go talk to Bowie. Like that place, because there's a bakery over in Northeast El Paso that I used to go to all the time on Hercules. Go talk to a manager there, class. Talk to an auction house. Go to a blues club. Talk to a blues musician, a museum, class. You could even do an activity like go to a Frisbee tournament. I think they call it golf now. Frisbee golf, air golf. Interview the organizer. Go to a poetry reading. Talk to one of the poets, class. Go to a rock climbing event at Waco Tanks. Hang out with a union organizer, class. So those are, class, just some of the possibilities. Remember, no family member, no boyfriend or girlfriend, but anything else. I had a student tell me the other day, Mr. Welsh, I want to do my interview over Zoom. I said, you can. Who do you want to do? He goes, my friend is in the Army. I said, soldiers always make good interviews, right? Soldiers always make good interviews. I said, where is he? He said he's in Berlin, Germany right now. He's been in the Army for about 5 years. Can I interview him? It's like, yes. Air Force, yes, you can. That's fantastic. Because I've read some good. And then I learned. See, class, I learned. I read your work and I'm like, wow. Look at Mr. Welsh. He's still estudiante in Espanol, not profesor de inglés, which I am, but estudiante. I learn. I learn from my students. It's what makes the job still exciting all these years. So, class, that's it. Think about who you're going to do and then do it. What I would suggest is this. Figure out who you're going to do as soon as possible now, next day or so. Set up that interview. We take things one step at a time. Once you get the interview, get it done. Because see, like if at the end you come to me, oh, Mr. Wells, I couldn't get this assignment done, drop the class because you're going to fail it. In college, everything is your responsibility. So set up an interview and get it done. And if someone blows you off, do another one. But nail it down soon. And then you'll have time to write the essay. We still have time. Still have time to get to the writing center. And then we don't have a deadline until, the 9th. The 9th and the 10th. All right. And today's only the 20th. So we got time. But time slips away. All right. Time slips away. So set that up. Get me a good interview. And in class, I look forward to that. And once again, class, where we're at, I'm grading memoirs 7 days a week. Don't worry, just hang in there. I get through everybody. A lot of students have heard from me already. And some good few have their grades. But once again, I grade what's been sent to me. That's it. And then I start working with students 1 day at a time, 7 days a week. So I'm getting through these. And I've read some good work. Class, with that said, man, it was a nice day out today. I'm wishing you well. There's some spring in the air. It's beautiful today out on the Rio Grande River. Wow. Had a great time, man. Got some exercise, got some sun. Saw some wildlife out there. Love El Paso. Love the borderlands, man. Um, it's a good place. It's a good place to be. Class, with that said, I'll have some more handouts for you that talks about drafting next. Take it one day at a time. Get into the process. And with that said, class, good luck, good luck, good luck. As the Irish always say, stay strong. I hope your family stay well. Believe in yourself. Be good to yourself, class. Be kind to yourself. And just keep moving forward one day at a time. And I'll be right there with you, class. Right there with you on this El Camino, on this walk of education and this walk of betterment that we're all on. You, class, you take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.